Gora Andura, I say. Mama Seta, Ashudu, Ashute, Ashu on. Vibrations every baka. May your mind, bucks, and souls be old. May your omits be sound. May your bakas be leaven off ground. When we keep to the breath, the orth, the mothor, the seon, the soul of Ra guides and keeps you all. Ion Matata, L-I-E, say L, say I, Christ or a chaplain, Tata Amen Ra. I'm my Truth Awareness True Talk. Come be a part of the greatest transfer of Ma Elf, that's intelligence, Aminology to Ongodu. This is Sound Logic. And with all that being offered to you, being a fool is absolutely your choice. To raise Ray 1867. Go to Google, go to Apple, download that Kagadora app. Join us. Join the Raise the Re-Rise of Ra. Go to Jesus, that's GESOOS.com. You could also get there by going to savbysound.com, that's savebysound.com. Join up. When you sign up, you get the iBucket to Omen. You get the Mithorian Kagadora file. You can print it on your local desktop, display it. Or, better yet, go to amenra.com, buy it, get it delivered to your door, along with some apparel, some books. You get access to directionary.com because, you know, the Ta'ango do Sound Logic search decoding engine counters the dictionary that ties your erection. And we do that with teaching you Ta'angodu because we speak motion. I don't consent to draconian state, nor should you hashtag that in your post. Thought is the sport that spawns intelligence to the fungi.org. Don't forget that your mental health is directly tied to your etheric compass. You need to orientate yourselves to sound. All right, we got a sound, a logic, calibration, an orientation. The word Nazi, that we say Nazi. Okay, we say Nazi, but it's spelled Nazi. All right, so we're going to read off of the computer what AI wants you to believe it means to offer the contrast. Then we're going to get into our lesson. We're not going to talk about, I remember, a native guy here in Canada once was putting out some challenge to black people about if you're the real natives, where's the swastika or all this, like this total crap bullshit. Okay, it doesn't matter who you are, native, Chinese, Russian, doesn't matter how educated you are, I'm going to give you all a lesson. Okay, I'm going to give you all a lesson because none of you guys come from sound. All right, you all worship and are, wired to the word of God. Okay, this system is God to you. All right, you believe that the system, and you can see how it's harming, right? We can see how, these ionization weaponry and, microwave technology and all that type of stuff is creating quite a disturbance, but there is no credit for being the makers of the elements in the earth, that has been removed from every god, okay? Only Ra, only Baal, only Ra and Baal. The soul Ra'ab step gets credit. Only sound. Okay? What is dead cannot make life. Okay? Life doesn't require the death. You got that? So we're going to give you some life, some new life to the word Nazi. We're going to put an end to it and break the code, and we're going to put this into play because today is a special day. It's 1867. If you watch the Mithorian Kagadora update, we went back to the year 1867. There was a lot of politics put in place to perpetuate slavery. Now with the digital technology industry revolution on the rise, the recontracting, the so-called New World Order, this is just a reset, a rewind, a recontinuation of the old in a new perception. We don't want that. So we got to combat. And what better opportunity to break the spell on Nazi. All right. So the primary historical political meaning Nazi is a shortened form of German name for the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the NSDAP. This was the far-right political party led by Adolf Hitler that ruled Germany from 1933 to 1945. Okay? You got that. So this is beautiful that this is happening now. I absolutely assure you I'm Ra's puppet, because Ra had me bring this out in advance. Remember, we are at 1867. Okay, so at some time within this ring 6, we will hit 1933 to 1945. So we got to look out for these days here in the Gregorian calendar. We will find them, and we will highlight them, and we will ray against them. Okay, I didn't say pray against them. We will ray against them. Okay? The ideology of the party and regime known as Nazism was characterized by extreme racism and anti-Semitism. The belief in a hierarchy of races with an Aryan race as superior. This led to perception of genocide of Jews, Romanian people, and others. They didn't tell you about the the Nubians, the so-called black people. Okay? Totalitarianism, complete state control over all aspects of public and private life. Ultra-nationalism and militarism, a fanatical belief in German supremacy and the use of military force to expand territory. Dictatorship, the rejection of democracy and liberal values centered on the absolute authority of the Führer. Modern, broader usage. Today, the term is often provocatively associated. Generally, insult people might call someone or a group Nazi to accuse them of being authoritarian, tyrannical, or brutally oppressive, racist, white supremacist, or anti-Semitic, intolerant, and hateful towards minority groups. Important note, using the term in this casual, non-historical way is controversial. Many argue it trivializes the horrific and specific crimes of the actual Nazi regime, including the Holocaust. All right. Okay. Now, we're going to break down some words. So we saw how the movement was used for totalitarianism. Okay, so that's just, a fancy word for draconianism. Okay, and we also seen the contrast of what they want to call white supremacy. Okay, so the opposite of white, okay, is black. Okay, you got that? And you also see specifically Jewish. Okay, that's important. We broke that code. Okay, Romani people, we broke that code. Okay, of Rome. All right, you got that? So we got some really good stuff here. Okay, so we're not going to focus on what Hitler did or not do. We're going to focus on the code, and then we can recognize and realize what Hitler was actually trying to do. Okay? Because it was a major code. Okay, so a lot of people recognize and realize, that the swastika symbol now, that they were used for Nazism. Okay, so you have the behavior. Okay, and now you have the symbol. Okay, now you have the symbol that's going to associate yourselves, okay, with the behavior. And that's how the cipher works. Okay, because now when you see the symbol, okay, which actually has no power, okay, it's the word that's associated with the symbol that gives it its power, okay, or negates its power. better yet. Okay, all right. Okay, so what we're going to establish, number one, okay, is the order of operations. You're going to start off with the circle. Okay, when the circle is broken, okay, you're going to have two straight lines. okay, if you take a C and you take the other C, okay, and you cross them over themselves, okay, or you take those lines and you put it over itself, you're going to be crossed out, okay, so it's negated. You understand? It's negated. All right, so now we're going to take that shape, same principle, we're going to add it to the square. Okay, we're going to add it to the square. And so you can imagine, let's just say it has 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we're going to cut this in half like that. You have one side, another side, another side, one side, another side, another side, one side, another side, another side, one side, another side, another side. Okay? All right? So then we're going to okay, just like that. Okay, so you got the X. This is what we're looking at right here. Okay, it's the X is what's really important. Okay, so now we're going to look at the word na Z. Okay, we have the sound. It is a very strict Z sound, not Z. Nazi. Okay, it's spelled N-A-Z. Sorry, N-A-Z-I. Not S-I. N-A-Z-I. Okay, and we literally have a Z. 2 Z's. Okay, so we need to recognize that Z represents Zagad or Azazel. Okay, Lucifer, Satan, Iowas. Okay, you get the picture? You got that. Okay, so now when you take that name, okay, you take this letter, okay, you take it, it's already formed, okay, it's already formed. We went to see, we showed you how it came to be, what it came to be, because you're taking a C, you're taking a circle, okay, and you're splicing it, and then you're contorting it, bending it, bowing it, doing whatever you want to create these symbols. This represents source. Okay, even though it's not in symbology, that's what it represents, whole, the whole, where everything is from. Okay, the only difference is when you have it hollow, okay, when it's just the outline and it's not filled in, okay, now it's telling you that it's without sound. So this is why an O and a 0 in the alphabet and the numbers are not solid, okay? But yet, in writing, you have the dot, which is the same thing, okay? You got that? Now, when you are negating something, you are severing it, okay? And when you sever it, you are now creating 2 halves. Okay, so what's happening? You have one Z, okay, and then you have another Z, because this is the 2 halves of the square. Okay, so when the 2 halves of the square are placed upon themselves, just like the circle, now it is negated. Okay, if you are in a voting box, what happens? You have a square and they say, you put your X. Okay, so now your voice is negated, but it goes to the person that you voted for. Okay, this is a science, okay, that I'm giving you the keys to unlock through sound logic. So please go to jesus.com and sign up. Okay, all you got to do to begin is sign up. Okay, register yourself in the ethers. Get your signature out there. Okay, keep the Kagadora. There's so many things that we can be doing to be changing this. But most importantly, I'm giving you the keys so you can correct your own codes. Okay, we can decode your name. You can start, taking the cipher out of your pets' names, and you can rename plants. There's so many of us in this world that if we each who can take it upon ourselves to rename our environment, recall our environment, sorry, not rename it, recall it, then we are bringing it back to sound. We don't need anybody's permission. You need your spiritual permission. Whatever is inside you preventing you from connecting with me, that's what you need permission from. Okay? You got that. So now that we figured that out, the code NA means not applicable. Okay? It means negate. Whatever consequences, whatever it is going to be non-applicable. Okay? Now we have Z. Okay? Not applicable. And then we have Lucifer. Okay? And then you have soul. You got that? So it means not applicable, Lucifer, soul. Okay? So that means negate Z. So Lucifer is negated. It's not applicable to the soul. The Z, God, Lucifer, Allah, all that stuff is not applicable to the soul. You got that? This is why you'll go and you'll hear people say, oh, well, the Nazi really is a good symbol because it's can be seen, as a, cluster of stars in the sky. It can be seen as a constellation, right? That's what the people are going to be, some people are taught, they can point to the sky and say, oh, the Nazi symbol's up in the sky. Da 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 da. It's total bullshit. I'm not saying it's not in the sky, but that's not the meaning of the word. Okay? We got to learn to separate the physical shit from what we are naming it. Unless what we are calling it is based on what it is doing. Okay, this is what Ta'angodu is all about. It's about motion, recognizing motion over meaning and intention. People can mean and intend anything, but if it is not what it is done, then it's irrelevant. We got to deal with the consequences of the actual motion. Okay, so if we are able to call things in advance of their movement because we know how they're going to move, because that is how they are called, and it's not going to move outside of its calling, then this is a sound environment. There's no dupery. There's only choices. Okay? There's only choices. You got that? So this is why the Nazi symbol was used in an opposite form. Okay, because to break the actual spell of the sound of negate Z. Because the baka, that is what we would say. Nazi. Or Nazi-I. Okay, so Nazi-I. It's like saying, I don't want Lucifer in me. Okay, I don't want Lucifer. This is what Nazi means. Okay, I don't want Z. I don't want Z. Nazi. The Jamaicans, we would run this. Okay, totally. Okay, totally. Nazi. Menazi. You understand? Menazi. Yeah, you get that? Me. Na Z. Okay, and I would put an E to replace the I. Okay, because E is entity. Entity is entitled. Only a baka is an entity, is entitled because we are of Ra. Okay, you got that. So we don't need to symbolize the baka. The baka is symbolized with the I, okay, because this is the upright being, and this is Ra. Okay, you got that. When you have a capital L, you're capped. Okay, there's no I on top of that. Okay, you're capped. You have no movement and you have no head, so no thoughts. You just have a body. Okay, your body can't move. It's heaved now. This is heaven to the parasite. Okay, because now you're a dead log. All right, you're not subject to the roots, and you're not growing any fruits. Okay, everything in between is the log. All right, so this is very, very important that you get this code because we have to resurrect it. This is why the symbol symbolizes the crossing out of the square. Okay, the Nazi symbol could very well be a square with an X through it. Okay, or a square with Ra through it, because that's what the prohibited symbol is. You have Ra, the outline, and a line saying Ra doesn't approve of it. You can't do it. That's why it's the color red. That's why it's a circle. That's why there's a line through it, because this is upright. It's a 45-degree angle. You ain't playing with me. You understand? So any one of these is the Nazi symbol. Any one of these three things means the same shit. Matter of fact, that's going to be my next t-shirt. I'm going to have 3 versions of the Nazi symbol. And I'm going to probably have the words Minazi. Minazi. Or Minazi. Or Minazi. Anyhow you look at it, it means you're not disagreeable. Okay? You're not disagreeable. This is the only reason why that Nazi symbol is going to be converted now. The spell is broken. Okay? When you have these draconians spitefully utilize the symbol, it's the same shit. The same shit has been done. It's the same playbook. Okay, same playbook, different topic, different subject, different incidents. Okay, now we're just dealing with this Hitler movement, but it's the same shit. Okay, same shit. Okay, this is what we're talking about. This is what we're dealing with here. Okay, this is what we're dealing with. All right, that's a major spell broken. That word Nazi doesn't mean the National Socialist German workers. They tell you it's far right. Well, far right means far raw. I've been telling you that these draconians have been operating under the false authority of Ra, acting as both Ra, representing the ether, and the double that is against the ether. So now they can only represent the double that is against the ether that was always wearing the mask of Ra. And you can see this in their symbology. All sports, all institutions, everywhere, you're going to see that red circle. Okay, you're going to see Ra in their name. Okay, look, the Jewish, Israel. Okay, it's all over it, but we know they are not. Okay, this was in their very own book that they wrote called the Bible. They told you that they act as they are, but they are not. Okay, you got that. All right, and so we got to rock and roll. This Nazi has to rise, and it has to rise properly. Okay, in full conduct of sound logic. Okay, when you have skinheads and all those people, let them have choice. Let them have choice. Because the truth is, if they had known what this means, then perhaps they would still want to be Nazi. But the only difference is, and I'm glad I came up to this, and Ra put me to this, you notice how the Nazis have bald heads. They're called skinheads. So what would be the difference, the opposite of a true Nazi would have an afro. Okay? Would have an afro. And this is why, in the punk rock movement, they used to have the hair spiked up. Right? Because they all wanted afros, because they know that to be true Ra, to have the true authority, is you're going to show that you come from Ra. So your hair, you're going to have an inner soul that's going to generate electricity in your body to force your hair to stand up. Just like if you were going to a science center and you put your hand on a ball of electricity, your hair would stand up. Like if it had static electricity. Well, I have this static in me all the time. I create it. I create it. Because I am of Ra. I'm radiant. Okay? You got that. All right, so this gives me a lot to play with. I'm going to come out with some designs. I got a lot in my mind that I'm looking at right now, some symbology, right? I mean, in Nazi and with afros, all right? I mean, people have to recognize and realize, all right? So like, subscribe, comment, get involved, okay? I know I'm being buried, okay? The algorithm does not want you, to have a sniff of sound logic, okay? But for those who are watching, it's up to you, okay? You got to share this. You got to comment, okay? Say thanks, whatever it is. Help the algorithm recognize and realize that this is alive, okay? This is a major. And today is a major day to break this code on 1867 when they are planning Nazi movements, okay, that are reverse coded. You understand? Hitler wasn't going around, okay, and basically, reinstalling the Nubians in control. Okay, it was the opposite. It was removing them. Okay, and having you look at people that weren't Nubian and calling themselves Jew. Okay, it was just, unfortunate for the people that lost their lives, but obviously, they were being used. Okay, they were being used. Right? And that's the unfortunate. So we need to go back to Baka. And Nazi is the command code because it's Nazi. Or actually, what did I say? It's me. Nazi. And you could even put I. Minazi I. Okay? That means you as an individual is negating Lucifer. Okay? From being entitled to the I. Z is Z entity. The Z entity, okay, which shouldn't be called an entity, but the Z would be Lucy. Okay, I is always you. Okay, so Nazi means negate Z. Negate the Lucifer entity. Okay, this is what Nazi means. Okay, this symbol means that the square is broken. The square is prohibited. It's not allowed. Instead of this being in the box, it needs to be outside the box. Okay, that's the true Nazi symbol right there. Okay, another Nazi symbol I'll remind you is you have the square or the cube, whatever, right? And then you have the prohibited symbol through it. Okay, this would be Ra. Okay, and the line through it. You got that? Okay, the word hail. Okay, so you have ha, means to expel. Okay, I element. Then you have